What do you see when you imagine the future? When we picture what's to come, we often think of innovations that take us to new heights. Some of them are already here, and every day, thousands more make the jump from our imagination into reality. Nowhere is this more evident than here in Japan. Fourth Industrial Revolution technologies are fundamentally transforming the way we do things. All this is happening so fast, and we must do more than just keep up. These emerging technologies open up boundless possibilities of what our future could look like. Technology is not a simple solution to our problems. It poses questions that we need to answer and guidelines we need to write together. That's why we're all here. A global event hosted by Japan that brings together the world's leading voices across disciplines and geographies. How technology will shape our tomorrow depends on the choices we make today. And that starts now.
Hello, and welcome to the session on building a national AI strategy. I'm Jennifer Schenker, editor-in-chief of The Innovator, a publication about digital transformation, and I'll be your moderator. Managing the creation of AI is crucial for countries and companies, given the technology's ability to influence defense, diplomacy, employment, intelligence, economic competitiveness, and the diffusion of information. Here to tell us about his country's national AI strategy is Mustafa Varank, Turkey's Minister of Industry and Technology. After his remarks, we will move into a panel discussion. Minister, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jennifer. Esteemed Minister, honorable representatives of the business world and academy, it's a great pleasure for me to address such a distinguished audience for the occasion of the Global Technology Governance Summit. I would like to extend my warmest greetings to all of you and thank the World Economic Forum for organizing this event. The World Economic Forum has pioneered the development of effective public policies during the fourth industrial revolution by bringing the public, industry, academia, and civil society together. This event is a very good example of these initiatives. Distinguished participants, artificial intelligence has driven the fourth industrial revolution during the last decade. It has structurally shifted how businesses produce, how governments provide, and how individuals consume the services. Such drastic changes in technology always make people anxious, as it always did in the past. However, the experience we have gained since the first industrial revolution has revealed some important facts that may guide us in the fourth industrial revolution. First of all, it's obvious now that no one can stand against the technology. Nations or organizations that want to survive have to adapt to new technologies. The second fact is that the labor-saving technologies have always enhanced the worker welfare despite the fear of a rise in unemployment. New occupations have emerged by the rise of new technologies, and people may have earned more by working less hours. Finally, we have learned that each new industrial revolution brings new opportunities. Countries lagging behind in current technologies can level up by investing in new technologies. We, as the government of Turkey, have considered the fourth industrial revolution and its components, such as AI, as a stepping stone. With this perspective in mind, we first built the necessary institutional capacity in the public sector. We established a new general directorate under the Ministry of Industry and Technology to support the development of enterprises and human resources in critical technologies, including artificial intelligence. We established the Artificial Intelligence Institute within the Scientific and Technological Research Institution in order to effectively coordinate the initiatives regarding AI. And we also established the Big Data and Artificial Intelligence Applications Department under the Digital Transformation Office to ensure secure and quality data sharing. Subsequently, we examined the global trends, the AI strategies of other countries, and the work of international organizations. World Economic Forum's National AI Strategy Framework and the experiences of Singapore and India were the key instruments that guided us. In addition, we sought the opinions and contributions of all related parties in Turkey. Thus, we were able to diagnose the challenges and advantages we have. Based on these comprehensive surveys, we have designed our national AI strategy around 6 priority areas: improving the human capital and increasing their employment, supporting research, entrepreneurship, and innovation, improving access to quality data and technical infrastructure, enacting regulations that will accelerate the social and economic adaptation to AI, strengthening international cooperation, and accelerating the structural and workforce transformation in public and private sector. We have also set concrete targets under each of these strategic priorities. We aim to achieve several of these targets by 2025, such as the share of AI sector in GDP will be at least 5%. The AI employment will reach 50,000. The number of graduate students in AI will increase 10 times. The ratio of AI R&D expenditures to total R&D expenditures will reach at least 15%. The commercialization of AI solutions will be supported through public procurement, and lastly, at least 150 open data sets will be published on the Open Data Portal. So those are our targets to be reached. Honorable guests, framing and implementing an AI strategy is not an easy task, especially in a highly populated developing country. One of the most important challenges we faced was the need to use a common language in the strategy document. There were certain confusions on concepts. Many institutions and organizations have positioned AI beyond the fourth industrial revolution. Some may have even considered AI as an opportunity, postponing the steps to be taken for digital transformation. In order to overcome this problem, we made it clear that the AI applications are desired final products of digital transformation and cannot be separated from it. Another challenge we encountered in the field was that the manufacturing sector lags behind other sectors, such as retail and finance, in terms of big data. Therefore, we have prioritized the provision of technology and infrastructure for the creation of big data in the manufacturing industry in the roadmap. The size and demographic composition of population was another important challenging factor. Promoting labor-saving AI technology in a country where millions of people are expected to be employed may not be welcome. Here, Turkey has an advantage. Our population is young and dynamic. The median age is around 32, and the younger generations are well educated. The net school enrollment rate at college level has reached 44%. With a well-established plan, we aim to direct our young people to new occupations to be created and needed by the AI sectors. This was the reason why we made improving the human capital as our first priority in our strategy document. The last challenge that I would like to share is the difficulty in accessing quality data. Data is the oxygen of AI. You first need to convince the data owner institutions to share what they have, then make sure that the data you receive is reliable. Especially in public institutions, we handled this issue successfully thanks to the smooth coordination of the Digital Transformation Office. Dear all, we attach great importance to the role of international cooperation and exchange of experiences. Last year, we have joined the World Economic Forum's global network of centers for Fourth Industrial Revolution. The center's global experience and approach to produce solutions with common sense contribute significantly to our industry and technology ecosystem. We will continue to work together to create good practices that will set an example for the world. I once again thank you all for your participation, and I want to leave the floor to Jennifer and our distinguished panelists. Thank you and take care.
Thank you so much, Minister, for that detailed explanation of your successes and challenges. I would like to now introduce our panelist, Alexander Vedyakin, First Deputy Chairman of the Executive Board of Cyberbank, Mikhail Jabarov, Azerbaijan's Minister of Economy, and Özgür Burak Akol, Chairman of the Turkish Employers Association of Metal Industries. We'd like to make this session interactive, so I urge the top link audience to submit their questions via the chat function, and we will try to get to them near the end of the discussion. So let's dive right in. We've heard from Minister Varenk about Turkey's national AI strategy. Let's turn now to Russia. Cyberbank, Russia's largest bank, has helped Russia shape its national policy, and it's made AI an integral part of its own business strategy. Alexander, please tell us from the private sector perspective why this technology is so important and what kind of transformative capabilities it has.
Good morning, colleagues. Thank you very much, Jennifer. And I was really impressed by words of Minister Varenk. That's really, really impressive. And I used to live in Turkey for 3 years, and I'm really glad. I know Turkey quite well, and I'm really glad that it's so impressive and Turkey is going to AI. And AI national strategy, it's impossible to be fulfilled without involvement of largest institutions of economies, as we are Sberbank. So we are the largest bank in Eastern Europe and Russia. So we have just some quick overview. We have more than 100 million of individual clients and 2.7 million corporate clients. We have approximately 300,000 employees. So we are quite big, I can say. So, and as Russia and as some other countries have AI strategies, we have our AI strategy as well, AI transformation. And for example, this AI transformation gave us more than 1 billion of net US dollars of net income in the year 2020. So more than 1 billion additional income just because of AI. So AI is not about IT. AI is a new business model, AI-driven business model. So it means that we have earned more than 10% of our income thanks to AI. I mean, additionally. And this is increasing income in the particular year. But all in all, based on AI technologies, we earn, I think, more than 30% of our incomes just because of interest income and so on. So this is dramatically changes in your business models. Please, we have to talk to CEOs. So it's agenda of CEO. AI transformation is, for example, is agenda of our CEO, Mr. Graf. It's my agenda as well. I'm the first deputy responsible for business. And so I can talk maybe a bit later about some features and what we do exactly to earn this billions of US dollars just because I would share it with my pleasure. But my main idea is that it should be a commitment from the CEO. It should be some like a big idea of the CEO, of the leader, and all the team must actually execute it.
Thank you very much, and we will come back to some of Sberbank's strategy and challenges a little bit later on in the discussion. I'd like to turn now to Minister Jabarov. The new Center for Fourth Industrial Revolution affiliate center in Azerbaijan started its operations on April 1st, just 5 days ago. How might this center and your digital ecosystem approach pave the way for the country's adoption of Fourth Industrial Revolution technologies, including AI?
Thank you very much. It is my honor and pleasure to be here and welcome distinguished minister, other panelists and audience. It is indeed true, thanks to cooperation between World Economic Forum and my government. Just recently, we established what is the first affiliate center in CIS, and I take this opportunity also to thank you very much the colleagues from the World Economic Forum who made it possible. I think the timing of it comes at a very symbolic time. It's what we all believe to be a post-COVID time, because really pandemic has shown that as much as we can rely on traditional ways of tackling the issues, but level of digitalization and information awareness, and specifically use of AI technologies turned out to be, on one hand, helpful and help to distinguish between those businesses, and those jurisdictions, and those fields of daily life that are more sustainable, as opposed to those who didn't have them. In terms of how this can contribute, how the affiliate center in Baku can contribute to ecosystem in Azerbaijan, but also maybe in the wider region, I think there are several things. I will point out two. One is obviously content itself, because it's extremely important to make sure that the resource is mobilized, especially as far as content and development issues are concerned. But second, and probably not less important, is that transformational change that it may and should bring with it in culture and in education and on many other what we call the soft aspects, because I think AI affiliate centers can really become hubs, if you wish, around which these both legislative making initiatives of a government implementation, tool identification, cross-border cooperation can and should happen. Last but not the least, obviously, the center should give a boost and support to ambitious digitalization program that government of Azerbaijan has, and my colleague, Minister Varank, was, I think, very specific, and many of the challenges that have been identified in his speech, I think, are true for many countries in the region and around the globe.
Thank you very much, Minister. And so, Alexander, as companies and countries begin rolling out AI, they have a moral and in some cases legal obligation to ensure that algorithms they are using are ethical and do no harm. How is Sberbank handling this issue? Does the bank have an AI ethics policy, and how do you coordinate with a government policy in this area?
This is a really, really important question. This is, so maybe this is a really good example when the ethics became a real practical question. by normal circumstances, ethics is something so in the sky, and nobody would like to talk about this. But for AI, this is a business question. Ethics is a business question for AI, because without ethics, you can't be successful in AI, because no clients, neither your colleagues and employees will not support AI. Only talking about ethics, you can improve the technology, and you can go to frontiers in these technologies. So we have we are the first company in Russia that have made our own ethics principles, AI ethics principles, and we have it publicly announced it. And we are more than ready to talk, and we are just in talks with the society, with a group of people, group of experts, just to understand what they do think about our ethics principles. So I can share with you those principles. It's just similar to many of those kinds of principles of Microsoft, of other big companies, for example. So first of all, AI should be secure. What does it mean? It means that AI technologies have to be developed and used in a safe, manageable, and controllable way. All risks have to be factored in. The risk of harming humans must be ruled out. This is really important, because we are always talking about some, you know, this like a Skynet, robots will do something strange with the people and so on. Not at all. AI is like a child, you know, and we can learn this child with the principles. Next principle is explainable AI. It means that AI has to be transparent and predictable as possible. The systems should clearly explain all the decisions they make and the results they achieve. So AI is pretty good in forecasting of results, but we always must know why we have this or that results. Otherwise, it's like a black box. How you can believe that black box will give you good results? I mean, that's especially when we are talking about some sensitive topics. So it must not be a black box. It should be really explainable. So reliable AI. AI systems have to be stable and reliable. It should provide the same accuracy every day, every minute, for every process. A responsible AI. It means that AI needs of customers and employees should be the primary focus, while AI technologies should be used to improve customer experience. So we do AI not just because we love AI. Okay, we love AI, but we do it for our customers and for our employees. And AI must be fair. So AI technologies must be fair and non-biased, ensuring equality for everyone. This is, I think, one of the most difficult topics to talk about, because biases could be not only AI, but also in data sets, in programming, and so on and so on. And we have a special validation team to understand where we have biases and to exclude biases from our models. So this is also a really important point of us. So 5 AI ethical principles helping just being AI really good and helping business to go with AI further.
Thank you very much, Alexander. I do want to point out that the World Economic Forum is working on a global ethical AI framework, because this is such an important issue for both business and government. There have been some very public cases, including one involving the UK government with the grading of school papers, where, you know, the use of AI led to a lot of issues and problems. And of course, there have been many articles about how AI has been has caused problems with bias in hiring. And as we move to things like autonomous cars, more and more ethical issues will be raised. Let me now turn to Minister Jabarov. As we've been discussing, AI is expected to impact all areas of government. How will the technology impact trade and trade relations with your neighbors?
In many ways, I believe, and it is actually already impacting. As you know, Azerbaijan puts trade and transit strategy in the center of its economic policies. Recent developments in the region opened the way for even further integration of transport and trading and regional links. For instance, if you take customs procedures, which are extremely important for borderless and speedy flow of goods across the borders, some of these technologies are already used. As an example of that would be the risk identification platforms, which lead obviously to green corridors and a number of other products which are based on AI analysis and on the behavior patterns and on the transportation routes. Another example of that would be better investment decisions in the field of trade and transit, because very often market players cannot, and even governments cannot process all the data with respect to the capacity usage of the warehouses, fleet, you name it. And once there is an integrated AI systems, which obviously can serve the stakeholders, that in theory should lead to a more informed and more rational decision making, including investment and decision making with the resulting economic turnouts, both for investors but also for the consumers. Yet another example of that would be growing use of the various platforms. Again, very important for regional trade and transit and economic activity. So here I think really sky is a limit, because we all know well that once the innovation culture is, let's say, booming or blossoming, there will be very different ways which probably we could not even today imagine, and these opportunities will be found by entrepreneurs and hopefully endorsed by the governments in charge.
Thank you, Minister. So we've heard a lot about the importance of public-private partnership in helping move AI forward. Asghar, you represent an association of automotive, iron and steel casting, white goods, and other metal industries that together represent a large percentage of Turkey's competitive strength. During the National AI Strategy launch in Turkey, how is your association promoting AI and Fourth Industrial Revolution technologies, and what are the association's plans, especially when building your partnership ecosystem and bringing various stakeholders on board?
Thank you, Jennifer, for this kind introductions. Great to be a panelist in such a summit on the most pressing issues related to Fourth Industrial Revolution. Before I start, I would like to thank Minister Varank also for initiating Turkey's first ever national AI strategy. We are also honored to take part in designing Turkey's national AI strategy, a refined example of a public-private collaboration, as you just indicated. As you just mentioned, MES is Turkey's biggest employers association, representing 40% of Turkey's manufacturing export, Jennifer. To help our members to succeed in the digital age, we set a very clear vision, which is to fully support the adoption of the Fourth Industrial Revolution technologies such as AI. To support the digitalization of our manufacturing industry, we established the world's biggest digital transformation and capability center, which we call MAXT. There, we cover the technology 360 degrees with 4 basic pillars. One is a world-class digital factory. Second one is consultancy and maturity assessments. Third, a capability building targeting skill gap at all levels. And fourth, a partner ecosystem gathering all communities. With these components, we provide all services a firm needs to harness the benefits of the fourth industrial technology. Let me briefly give you some details on each one. First is our digital factory at Next. This is the world's most advanced digital model factory, having a real manufacturing environment with 2 production lines. Our factory uses all fourth industrial revolution technologies and techniques, including AI and 5G. It has 2 unique features. One is a real production environment with the world's most extensive use case and applications. More than 130 fourth industrial revolution technology use cases. Approximately 20 of them are world's first time commissioned in our technology center. Second one is our maturity assessment service. As we all know, technology adoption requires tangible and target-oriented roadmaps. To provide such services, we partner with 2 institutions. First is Fraunhofer. It's, as you may know, it's Europe's largest application-oriented research center for digital and AI maturity assessment. The second one is Singapore-based Smart Industry Readiness Index, namely SIRI. Forum accelerates the use of SIRI, which is an internationally recognized standard for Industry 4.0 transformation. Both institutions provide detailed and applicable advisory services to our members and to our country. Additionally, we assist firms during the implementation phase, not only the design phase. The third one is capability building, which is quite important for me. To close the skill gap for technology, we designed a comprehensive digital transformation education curriculum. Our trainings address the needs of executives, mid-level managers, engineers, and operators. We partner with academic institutions such as Harvard, MIT, and other some national universities. We have a challenging target to train 50,000 workers for a total of 500,000 hours every year. And those trainings are the most blue-collar focused in the world. Additionally, we are planning an AI academy also at Next. We already initiated a pilot data literacy training program in partnership with Microsoft. We will scale up this training and reach more than 10,000 operators and engineers. The fourth pillar is a partner ecosystem. No one can succeed alone in the digital transformation journey. You have to have very good partners. For this, we created an ecosystem bringing together more than 40 major players, mostly multinational players of digital technologies. To boost open innovation and entrepreneurship, we are partnering with the world's largest innovation platform, Plug and Play. Plug and Play Istanbul platform at Next brings together manufacturing firms, investors, and startups from Turkey and 12 neighboring countries. These partnerships will help us to contribute to Minister Varank's actually target to create more Turkish unicorns. Furthermore, I would like to mention, as a complementary initiative, we have played a pivotal role in launching the C4I Turkey with our ministry. We signed the agreement at the beginning of 2020. The center already initiated several projects for technology governance. We will provide the gateway to industry, mobilize large-scale pilots, and reach out to the key decision makers in the private sector to shape the dialogue targeting technology governance. Jennifer.
Thank you. Thank you so much for giving us insights into the digital transformation of the manufacturing sector in Turkey. As you mentioned, the reskilling of the workforce is a key element to the adoption of AI and to digital transformation itself. So I'd like to turn now to Alexander. Can you tell us how AI is impacting employment at Cyberbank? Is it just taking away jobs, or is it also adding jobs?
That's a really difficult question, but really correct question. And as all panelists said, and Minister Jabarov said, and Özgür said, actually, this is a big challenge for states, for governments, and for big corporations as we are. Actually, we have some solutions, so to say, of the problem. So first of all, for sure, we have to retrain our employees, and what we do. I can give a short example. For example, we have underwriters. These are people that were taking decisions about loans, to give or not to give a credit. So for retail customers, for example, nowadays almost 100% of retail credits are granted by AI, and by the way, with much better results than by people. But okay, we have a really good, educated and talented people, underwriters. Provided previously loans and credits. So we have retrained them to AI people, to data scientists, and it works quite well. So another story is about how we could, and we helping actually to our government in the regions far away from Moscow. So I think it's a problem for almost every state that there are some regions far away from the capital and with high unemployment ratio, with low salaries and so on. We have also such kind of region, this in Caucasus Mountain. And we have provided them with the platform for to take information, especially visual information. For example, they have to take, this is a soap, this is a water, this is, and so on, for recognition purposes, AI recognition purposes. It's quite easy. It's good for them because they have a job. We paid, and it's good for us because we paid less than in Moscow, for sure. And this is good that we have a centralized platform, and they working in this centralized platform. And this is quite well. They are in their region. Okay, that's great. They are receiving money. That's wonderful. And then they doing a job for AI, and this is really good for to learn our neural networks. So it means that AI could create also jobs outside of capitals and big cities. And when you have an internet access and a centralized platform, you can do it across the country. And this is a good approach, and together with this, our government, federal government, we just rolling out this approach to other regions.
Great, thank you so much for sharing that with us. Oscar, let me go back to you and ask, what do you see as the association's greatest challenges around the adoption of AI, and what is your advice to other groups or that might be struggling with similar issues?
Thanks for asking this question, Jennifer. The question itself is another challenge, actually. Our technology center, MAX, plays a crucial role on adoption of AI and other fourth industrial technologies, as I just mentioned. We designed it to be the world's biggest capability building center. Considering the scale and, of course, the size of the project, I can say the vision has been realized within a very short time, like 1.5 years. And during the planning and implementation period, of course, we faced many challenges. Let me present these lessons we have learned. The first takeaway, I would say, for us is to focus on the long term. Before initiating MAX, we analyzed many institutions and companies, and we have seen that the fourth industrial technologies such as AI could only be achieved with a very long-term focus. There are many visionary use cases, such as predictive maintenance, sales and supply forecasting, or quality inspections. Many of them fail in the implementation stage. You need to concentrate on long-term investment, involve all parties in the organization, and implement the technology responsibility and ethically, of course. I will say if you have a very short term focus and you want it happen very quickly, Industry 4.0 is not for you. The second takeaway for us is to fulfill the skill gap, of course. McKinsey, in their Future of Work Turkey report, estimate that almost 7 million jobs will be lost because of automation in Industry 4.0. This number is less than 8 to 10 million potential new jobs created from the sources of labor demand by 2030 because of automation, again, AI and digital technologies. Those technologies require new skills at work. However, skill development should not be limited to engineers. It's very important matter for me. We have to be considering all levels and all levels of hierarchy pyramid. This can be one of the biggest mistakes to succeed in technology. While these technologies are disrupting the way we work, all levels of the organization, again, from C-level to blue collar, should understand and learn how to cooperate with these technologies. This could be upskilling and reskilling of the entire workforce. The third takeaway for us, or the third challenge, is to involve blue collars. To be frank, what we observe is that C-levels, managers, R&D, or some engineers are most interested to close this skill gap or their skill gap. However, blue-collar workers have different challenges, as we may know. They fear losing their job at the very first step. They believe automation and AI will replace them in factories. To persuade and involve them, we reached out to workers' unions first. We explained to them human-centric technology and how this approach could create jobs for blue collars. We initiated joint social dialogues with the national and international union bodies, such as the IOE, International Organization of Employers. We also led the nationwide dialogues collaborating with employers associations from other industries. In these dialogue sessions, Jennifer, we present the next vision and how we will upskill 200,000 employees in 4 years to protect their jobs and even create more employment by ensuring competitiveness of the industry. So maybe before I conclude, I could summarize our experience in three basic main messages. One is to have a long-term focus. The second one is to be agile and creative for adaptability. And the third one is to involve everyone, especially blue collar, create a sense of common purpose and place human progress at the center of everything.
Thank you very much. I think you have touched on a number of super important points of basically, educating the general public, upskilling the entire workforce, not just upper management, but also blue collar. And it's a great segue into the first question from our Top Link audience. And I will put this out to all of the panelists, and you can let me know who would like to answer. The question is, should we begin working on a digital rights declaration, which would be a multi-stakeholder declaration and collaboration to build an international understanding around data privacy and data ownership issues? Who on the panel would like to tackle that?
Well, I can give it a try if that's fine. My short answer would be that it is certainly an initiative that will be happening or should be happening To what extent it will be realistic to expect that there will be a universal consensus on this, that to me is a completely open and separate story. So the issue is absolutely relevant, issue is absolutely ripe. Maybe it's even a little bit, we are a bit late on that one, but that would be my take on it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Alexander.
Sure.
Oh, Asghar?
Short answer for me as well. Yes, of course we should start doing this. I remember the Star Wars analogy, the dark side and light side. We see the light side of these new technologies, emerging technologies, but also there is the dark side. So there should be not only to-dos, but also not to-do lists for everyone. And there is a lack of focus we see not only in the business environment, but also the governments and institutions should focus to create such mechanisms for brighter future.
Thank you. Alexander?
Yes, that's a great question. And I would agree with Minister Jabarov. I think we're a bit late. We must do it. But to find a global compromise seems to be almost impossible or quite difficult. So I think, first of all, the main states should make their own digital declaration, data protection, and afterwards we will talk on the global level. And WEF could be a really good platform to talk about it and to initiate on it. So, for example, we as Sberbank is a part of our internal Russia, so self-declaration of the biggest data holders, so to say. We make this self-declaration saying that we will support clear data, clean data, safe data, and so on. So it's also one of the ways how we can be sure that industry will regulate itself.
Okay, thank you very much. So let's turn to a next question. There is a large gap in understanding between policymakers and tech companies when it comes to AI. How do Minister Jabarov and Minister Voronk plan to equip public servants in their ministries with a basic understanding of AI and its potential use in the public sector? And we start with you, Mr. Jabarov.
Thank you very much. Well, to me, I think it's what I call a DALCO formula, which is what are the skills really that you expect of next generation or this generation public servants. And DALCO is an acronym, and D stands for data-oriented, A for agile, L for lifelong learners, C for creative people, and finally O are openness for change. So I think really having the combination and looking for nurture this combination. Of course, a lot has to do with the educational system, a lot has to do with the prevailing business culture in the society, a lot has to do with the, in a way, spirit. But I think as a manager, this is what, in my understanding, one shall aspire to.
Okay, thank you. So let me then ask another question. I think it was Asghar who talked about, well, you talked about plug and play, you talked about trying to build an ecosystem. Having entrepreneurs and startups working on AI is vital to building a vibrant AI, a national strategy. But yet, entrepreneurs and some of the brightest minds in AI are not necessarily looking to go and work for traditional companies or for government. So How do you create those countries that don't have a vibrant system of AI startups? How do you create it? How do you avoid the brain drain? How do you attract the kind of talent that you need? And maybe I start with you, Alexander.
Yes, I mean, that's we are not so big country in terms of startups for AI, despite we have some good startups for some AI technologies as a face recognition, for example, but I can't say that we have a Silicon Valley here in Russia. And this is a problem. And the main problem for us is a brain drain, as you said. That's because just a lot of people, smart people, having good education in Russia. In Russia, we have one of the best, I think, mathematical education and AI focused education. So a lot of people just going to the US, to Europe, and this is really pain for us. So now we are talking with the governments, actually, and we have a special group chairing by the first vice prime minister, trying to find out what we will do for to let startups grow really fast in Russia. I don't have this answer, but I'm sure that we will do it, and I think we will. The government will provide some money to build up such kind of opportunities for our startups. And we, as a biggest bank and one of the biggest organizations in Russia, we are buying startups, because for startups is always important to have an exit. You can't, or it's almost zero probability to be another Google or Amazon, but to sell your startup for good amount of money, and that's quite ambitious target. And as a big company, we are buying quite a lot of startups just to invent the technology and helping these entrepreneurs to go further to another startup.
Thank you. Minister Jabarov, how are you tackling this issue in your country?
I think this is really the heart or core of the issue. I completely agree with Mr. Vidyakin in his assessment that this is extremely challenging. Now, how we are trying to do it, I think the short answer would be structured as follows. One, we're trying to see what kind of national priorities, including government activities, spending, indirectly, not just as a tailor-made designed program at universities or IT/high-tech, any other level can be designed, but on a day-to-day need and necessity. Take defense and security field. For many different reasons, application of AI is quite efficient, and there is a permanent client for it, being government. Paying taxes. I mean, it may sound surprising, but it helps a lot in collecting taxes, customs fees, trying to identify quote-unquote strange or suspicious behavior when you are dealing with this or another sort of financial frauds. So we're trying to identify those blocks within the government and then try not just to lock it inside in a public companies, but try to give a boost and make sure that the various sort of solutions are done. Second, which is much more in my opinion, again, a challenging issue. You mentioned the brain drain. And yes, we have to admit that we're living in a world that has taken a pause because of the pandemic, let's say, on travel and on movement of people. But in general, it's still about race for talent and making your country, making your city, a magnet of attraction for talents, not just regionally, but also nationally, making a society where people can realize, especially young entrepreneurs can realize themselves is second and important part of it. But again, I would like to underline once again, all these limitations, exits, capital markets, innovation, spirit, size of the market. Yes, we all of that limitations as well, but hey, that's the name of the game. We have to, there is no other choice, and we have to do what we can. Thank you.
Thank you. So now I want to go back to something Ozgur said earlier, which was that, you know, many attempts to implement AI fail. And in fact, very few companies, never mind countries around the world, have succeeded in scaling the technology. And part of that is because, as Alexander mentioned earlier, it's not just about the IT. In order to successfully implement AI, you have to change the way the country and businesses are organized, and it involves a change in mindset. So Alexander, can you, as one of the few companies who is successfully scaling AI, can you tell us what that has entailed for your company?
So first of all, we have understood that there is no other way for us as a company. So a client would like to have products or service immediately personalized for him or for her and almost for free. And you can't do it. We have 100 million of clients, retail clients. You can't do it manually. You can do it only by AI. So for us, first of all, we have understood this for us is a question of to be alive or not to be alive. And that's the outcome. Afterwards, we have decided to make an AI transformation of the bank, and decision was taken on the presidents of the bank level, of the CEO level, and supported by the boards, I mean supervisory boards of the bank and from all shareholders. And it was also really important. So we have started with this. You can't implement AI or AI strategies starting from the blue colors, as Gur mentioned. They have their own understanding and so on, more fierce than understanding of potential. And afterwards we have started our transformation, and this is really important so I see that we have less than 3 minutes left, and it's almost impossible to explain what we have done in 3 minutes. So first of all, we have to change the culture and understanding of necessity of AI transformation. This is the first. The second, we have created common platforms when everybody can do together AI models and learn from each other, not to repeat themselves. For example, we have started AI transformation, and we have received 17 chatbots. This is crazy. You can't have 17 chatbots in one bank. So we have created a nation language processing platform, and we have this platform, and we have one chatbot talking about different issues with our clients. So we have also AI maturity index for every department, for example, and we're measuring it. And when somebody is below, so below the middle, we can push this department up. You know, that's from the managerial point of view how to do it, and support and giving some prizes for our pioneers. They are on the top of this maturity index. So we have the biggest and the largest AI computer, Christofari, in Russia, and so on. So that's when somebody interested in, I can share it, my experience with my pleasure.
Thank you very much. Our session this morning has underscored how crucial it is that both the public and private sector play a role to fully realize the promise of AI. Governments need to focus on national investments and R&D agenda, data policies, workforce, and education initiatives, while the private sector focuses on investment, worker reskilling, talent development, and business innovation. As with past industrial revolutions, the outcome will depend not just on the technology itself, but the way that countries and companies implement it. I'd like to thank our panelists for giving us a glimpse into their strategies and the audience for participating in this discussion. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. Teşekkür ederim.